Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about this other video where they remote viewed the tunnel of light. In this particular video, this is the first of multiple videos. Actually, it's the second. I already did an introduction. So in this video, we are going to parse, this is part one of parsing the remote viewing of the tunnel of light with input by domain commander. Talk about a mouthful. Blah, blah, blah. Essentially, this group of remote viewers remote viewed this object, contraption, mechanism that many people who have near-death experiences or who have died report upon, known as the tunnel of light. It also is a primary object or mechanism that is referred to in alien interview. And since I am majestic, or well, actually I am majestic, I'm retired from it, but I am also domain. My EBP says I am, so I guess I'm domain. I'm using that to communicate with the commander. I have no idea what's going to happen at this stage of the game. All right, this is sort of on the fly, and then I'm going to edit it for clarity and understanding. Before we move a little bit ahead here, I want to make a couple of points. Sometimes the commander can be abrupt, can be very dismissive for this reason or that reason. It's not a reflection at all on the viewers. It's not a reflection of all of those who are participating in the remote viewing exercise or the ones who believe it. It's just the way the commander is and the way it is communicated to me. Okay? The way I'm going to do this is I have my laptop over here on my desk. I'm going to show it to you here just for a second. See? That's my laptop. And on that laptop you can see I'm ready to launch a part of the video. See it? Okay? And what I am going to do is I am going to play it, pause it, comment on it, and ask for domain or commander input on it. And as always, if the commander is really pushing messages really hard to me, I am going to highlight that in the video by a color change. Generally, it's going to be a red color change. That's how I inform the viewers that I'm having a direct, the EBP is actuated and is in communication mode. A lot of times it looks really weird. It looks like I'm like some deer in the headlights or something, or I'm in pain or something like that. I'm sorry about that, but it is, it's an uncomfortable event sometimes. Other times it's just a stunning event. Grimacing on my face is involuntary. Sorry about that. That's what happens, okay? With that being said, let's get started, shall we?
Let's start with a description of the site, which is essentially what is surrounding the target before we jump down into specifics, and then also the contextual data that answers a number of different questions about Moksha. When we originally described this site, it's a fence or a grid around a place. This acts as a barrier. It collects and traps people, things, or objects. This is actually an innocent planet that is being used in an unintended way, and this meters the flow and acts as a checkpoint and an access point for an external force. One viewer described it as similar to hocus pocus, in a way of its energetics that the viewer wasn't familiar with. And it's occurring on a crowded planet. It's a deliberate function that acts as a cage people have been dispersed here, and a form of perverted injustice is occurring. A third viewer described it as a large naturally formed object, like a planet, that acts as an animal pen. This is a refugee camp tucked away out of sight, and a magnetic force. It stirs, agitates, and it works in a cylindrical manner, like clockwork over a long expanse of time. In my session, I described a planetary system that's extremely crowded and jammed. Ghostly voices are flooding into this place, and it's incredibly harrowing for them. It's a bone-chilling experience. As a viewer, when I remote viewed this, I had descriptions that it made me upset in the session. It elicited contempt for what was going on at the site. But the activity at the site was this concept of a net that's been spun, and it's an operation of catch and release on a grand scale. So there's a massive grid that exists around this planet, and it acts as a checkpoint, a waypoint, or rest stop where souls are drained, and then that in turn energizes something else. So very, very specific information about souls, about the clockwork nature over a long expanse of time, as well as this collecting, trapping, and then re-releasing. All this information came in. Okay, what's going on locally here? And the fact that it's the entire planet.
When you view this section that I just showed here, it's very clear that the remote viewers are viewing soul as a singular blob. They don't look into the details like we do here on MM. And also, they're speaking in generalities because they have different experiences and different understandings. Now, just watching that, and on my side, the audio is very, very low, so I'm going to boost it up in this video. But the audio is very, very low. The remote viewers are picking up on the presence of the moon, its unique location around the Earth, and the moon has a role in this entrapment on the Earth. Okay, there's nothing that differs from anything I've written about already. If you read my writings on the moon, you'll see that I say that it is, and also my Q&A, that it is where the headquarters for this old empire domain administration exists. And that's deep inside of it, the hollow moon, if you want to look it up on my writings, okay? Moon is hollow. Well, it's not a hollow. It's got a massive void inside of it because of its immense age. The solid core shrunk, as all ferrites do. When it changed from a hot, molten mass to a cooler, solid mass, it shrunk, and that created a void. And that void's been inhabited now for a long, long time. And that's where the administration for this area is. And they're describing how the moon itself, positioned around the Earth, has created an environment of entrapment. This environment of entrapment is germane to the geometry of large masses in close proximity to each other. Now, with that being said, I can tell you positively that the Earth is not alone. It is part of a complex of other solar systems or other planets that are within a pocket universe of types that is used to entrap, call them souls. Remember, once you enter this universe, you are a soul. You're no longer Isby. Isby is everything you have, and then a part of it comes out and it's a soul. Okay? So that's what's going on there. Many things that are said I have no problems with. For instance, the fact that the Earth is an innocent planet. The Earth solar system was an innocent, just minding its own business solar system until external forces came over and had a war and decided to seize it and use it in its own way. I have no problem with that. Now remember something, people. Remote viewing picks up probabilities based upon the template you're on. If a lot of people, a lot of consciousness are believing something, your remote viewing is going to pick that up because that's associated with the template that most likely matches that of the remote viewer. So you have to be very careful on this. So we have to watch to make sure that the remote viewers are not picking up on group consciousness thought manifestation as part of a template rather than what actually happened. Now, what actually happened, I'm sure, is very similar to this, but we still have to be very alert and very aware that group thoughts can skew perceptions by remote viewing. Don't get too blown away with this statement, okay? Just go with the flow, okay? One of the most important things that's coming out of this discussion here is that there's an association between the physical geography and the gravitational mass components and that of the consciousness that inhabits it. Now, I'm saying consciousness because consciousness is a part of soul. Those of you who are aware, you know that the soul has been segmented into three parts. Consciousness, which is you and the physical container. Manteds, GP, which is your manteds, that's your higher energy self that is associated with this reality. And then a higher energy part that goes into what we call heaven, which is a pocket universe. And and this, of course, is what they're saying here is that they're seeing an association between the gravitational mass of the moon and its clockwork rotation is more than just tides, but also affects the quantum. Now, it affects the quanta of the physical reality. What's affected by physical reality? Well, you know, consciousness that is entrapped in the physical reality and Manted GP, your guardian angel, because those are the two things that's in this universe. The pocket universe we call heaven is not affected, at least not in the same way. One of the remote viewers said that this body, this mechanism, is the moon, or like the moon. It's a naturally formed planet, and that's something that I totally agree with. But its rotation, its close proximity to the Earth, acts in a very powerful way that controls the quanta that is associated with souls. Now, the remote viewers aren't aware of the kind of stuff you guys know from MM. They're not aware of these associations, so they call it hocus pocus. There's quanta associations, as I've described using my Lego blocks and everything. These are quantum associations. So this effect of the moon going round and round and round is not just the tides that cause the ocean tides to come and go, but rather something else also, altogether also. And that is that it is And that is that it is breaking apart some of the quantum associations that are associated with your Manta GP and your consciousness. So if you can imagine these Lego blocks, some of them, not all of them, just certain ones, certain complex ones are breaking off and becoming particulate, which are just individual Lego blocks, if you can imagine that. And these Lego blocks are being broken off from your consciousness, your lower energy consciousness, and possibly, probably, certainly, being broken from your Manta GP, your guardian angel. And these orphaned Legos are going somewhere. And the movement of the moon collects these broken Lego pieces, these particles of broken up quanta, and they're like a halo. They're like a ring around Saturn, if you can picture that. It's like this ring. Okay? That's what they're remote viewing. He says, souls are drained, and that energizes something else. So these extra particles that are floating about can be useful in building up new quanta. So who or what is using these particles? Well, we'll look into that later on. But that's kind of what they're saying. Now I must emphasize that they're talking about the Earth and the moon around the Earth. They are not talking about the entire prison complex at this point in time. From what I understand, the other planets in this complex that are used as a prison environment are also in possession of some sort of similar clockwork gravity force that entraps. Now, there is a grid. He refers to it constantly as a grid, but you can't say there's a grid when you have a rotating mass around another mass. That's not a grid. However, you can say that the enclosure, this environment that has multiple planets that are all set up like this, is part of a grid, is part of an environment. Parsing this out tells us a little bit, gives us a little bit of insight, but doesn't really change our basic belief in what we have here. What it does tell us is the most important thing, is that for the Earth, the moon is more than just the administrative center set up by Old Empire, but rather the moon is the primary mechanism that entraps souls and consciousness in the reincarnation sphere. And the only way that you can break out of this is to break out of the moon, get rid of the moon. That's going to be pretty fucking hard, given what we have in our current technology. So, knowing how important the moon is, gives us a new appraisal of this, because it's more than just the administrative center, like I've said before, and it's more than just where domain has operations and things going on, and where the old empire who now work under the control of domain deal with. And that's it, guys. That's the first part, tearing this apart. I hope that this was beneficial to you in some way. I hope you gained a glimmer of something from here. And the commander said a few things, but nothing that was really, in my point of view, nothing that was really disparaging about it. Pretty much offered a little bit of understanding on a quantum sense what's going on. Changed my point of view in a couple ways, but take it as you will. With that, people, I hope you have a good day. Do the best you can, and just be good. Be the Rufus. Make your grandmother proud. Huh? And with that, people, take care, because you know what?
我拨开狼烟迷雾，看东方日出，长城巨浪怒。我踏个10万里路，将海里征服，胸怀一腔抱负。我挺起脊梁傲骨，数风流人物，会山河如初。这一笔惊世宏图，要乘风来过，回望神州故土。曾看过草木盛衰荣枯，也听过功过与荣辱度过。万卷圣贤诗书，凌驾过理性道法如踏遍三山越一路，也横渡云河走江湖，九州月色照千万户，将相思离愁平复。我身在华夏民族，壮志可敬这个福，一气如虹，真心火燎原地数，问千古谁能拦住历史脚步？当年梦里像战虎，盛衰荣枯，也听过功过与荣辱度过。万卷圣贤诗书，凌驾过理性道法如踏遍三山越一路，也横渡云河走江湖，九州月色照千万户，将相思离愁平复。我身在华夏民族，壮志可敬这个福，一气如虹，真心火燎原地数，问千古谁能拦住历史脚步？